My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The letter was supposed to bring me closure. Instead, it brought a ghost back to life. Welcome to One Story Today. The envelope was creamy and thick. It felt expensive. It had been forwarded 3 times. My name was written in a familiar, looping script. A script I hadn't seen in 10 years. It was from my grandmother, Clara. The problem was, Clara had been dead for a decade. I tore it open carefully. My heart hammered against my ribs. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a small, tarnished key. The letter began, "My dearest Elara, if you are reading this, I am gone." The words blurred for a moment. I took a deep breath and kept reading. "But my love for you is not. I have left you one final story, a story I was too afraid to tell while I lived. Follow the key, my darling. It will lead you to the truth and to your inheritance." Inheritance. My grandmother lived a simple, quiet life. She left behind no fortune, just a small house and a lifetime of bookbinding tools. What truth could she possibly mean? I turned the key over in my palm. It was cold and heavy. It felt like a secret. The key had a number etched into its bow, number 217, and the initials GWL. They meant nothing to me. I spent the rest of the day in a daze. I pulled out all of my grandmother's old boxes. I searched for a lock that would fit. I found nothing. That night, I couldn't sleep. Grandma Clara's face filled my dreams. She was whispering, but I couldn't hear the words. I woke up with a start. The moonlight streamed into my room. And then I remembered the locket, the beautiful silver locket she always wore. It was buried in her jewelry box. I had kept it but never opened it. The clasp was always stuck. Maybe I never tried hard enough. Maybe I didn't want to break it. I got out of bed and went to my dresser. There it was, nestled in velvet. I picked it up, my hands trembling again. I pressed my thumbnail against the tiny clasp. It resisted for a second. Then, with a soft click, it sprang open. Inside wasn't a picture, it was a lock. A tiny, intricate, silver lock. My breath caught in my throat. This was it. This was where the key belonged. I fumbled for the key on my nightstand. I brought it to the locket. The key slid in perfectly. It turned with a smooth, satisfying rotation. The back of the locket popped open. A tightly folded piece of paper was hidden inside. I carefully unfolded it. It was a map, hand-drawn, on what felt like old parchment. It showed a path through the woods behind her old house, a path we used to walk all the time. It led to a large oak tree she called the grandfather tree. An X was marked at its base. The words, "The truth awaits," were written beneath it. I looked at the clock. It was 3 a.m. I knew I wouldn't sleep again. I had to go. Now I threw on some clothes and grabbed a flashlight. The drive to her old house was a blur. The woods at night were dark and silent. My flashlight beam cut a narrow path. Every rustle of leaves made me jump. I followed the map, my heart a frantic drum, and there it was. The grandfather tree, its massive branches reached for the sky. I knelt at its base, my knees sinking into the soft earth. I started digging with my hands. The soil was cool and damp. My fingers scraped against something hard and metal. I brushed the dirt away. It was a string box, old, rusted, but solid, and on its front was a lock that matched the key. My hands were muddy and cold. I wiped them on my jeans. I pulled the key from my pocket. It slid into the lock. I turned it. The lock opened with a loud, metallic clunk. I lifted the heavy lid. Inside, nestled in red felt, was a leather-bound journal and a stack of bearer bonds. I shuffled through them. They were worth a fortune. But the money didn't matter in that moment. It was the journal I reached for. I opened it to the first page. "My name is Clara Westbrook," it began. But it was not always. "My birth name is Giselle Wolcott Lane, GWL. My blood ran cold." The Wolcott Lane family. They were one of the wealthiest families in the state. They had vanished from high society decades ago. I read on, my flashlight beam shaking. The story poured out of the pages. It was a story of a gilded cage, a story of a forced engagement, a story of a young woman, Giselle, in love with a gardener's son. Her family forbade it. They had plans for her to marry a powerful, older man. She refused. They locked her in her room. She planned her escape. With the help of her true love, Thomas, she ran away. They took nothing. They created new identities. They became Clara and Thomas Westbrook. They lived a simple, happy life. They had my mother. They were poor, but they were free. The fortune she left behind meant nothing to her, until Thomas died young. Then, she needed to provide for her family. She couldn't go back. She was afraid her family would find her, force her back into that life. So, she used her knowledge. She knew where her father kept his emergency funds, bearer bonds, untraceable. The night she ran, she took a small portion, just enough to secure her granddaughter's future, my future. She hid it, waiting for the right time to tell me the story. I sat there under the giant oak tree, the journal in my lap. I wasn't just Elara, the quiet bookbinder's granddaughter. I was the descendant of a runaway heiress. I was the product of a great, defiant love. The inheritance wasn't just the money. It was her courage. It was her story. It was the truth of where I came from. And it was more valuable than anything. I closed the journal and held it to my chest. I looked up at the stars through the branches. For the first time since her death, I felt close to her. I felt her strength. And I knew, no matter what, I would be okay. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories.